The once beloved Duchess of Sussex, honestly, you'd think she'd be untouchable with the way she spent years sculpting this flawless, shimmering fairy tale persona. The perfect smile, the perfect outfit, the perfect humanitarian, the perfect mother, the perfect wife. Everything so polished you'd swear it was airbrushed, but the real tea? Everyone's whispering the same thing now. How long can someone hold a mask that heavy before it cracks right down the middle? And Meghan Markle? Oh, she's been playing this game with Olympic-level dedication for years. She managed to fool the world with this carefully choreographed image of kindness, innocence, and royal-ready perfection, as if she was carved straight out of palace gold. But behind all that shimmer, behind those photo ops and carefully controlled smiles, the rumors wouldn't stop. Bullying allegations, plastic surgery whispers, staff members fleeing. The narrative she built was polished, but that shine was never going to last forever. The disgraced Duchess could only pull the wool over the world's eyes for so long, and now the curtain is slipping.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight in support of Project Healthy Minds, our partners at Archwell Foundation, and the true leaders in mental health access.
Just as I see in you, the present and the future. And I reiterate that point because oftentimes we speak to young adults about the years ahead, about what you'll do, what you'll have to adopt to fix from previous generations.
And just when you think things can't possibly get more chaotic, boom, the universe says wait for it. Because the biggest twist of all has taken center stage. The kind of twist you'd expect in a dark billion-dollar scandal movie. The Epstein case. Let's be honest, you'd have to be living under the rock to have never heard of it. Power, money, fame, corruption. A horrifying empire hiding behind glamour. And at the rotten center, a man who bent the world to his liking, who mingled with the world's richest and most powerful celebrities, politicians, even royals, especially royals.
Epstein, multimillionaire, hedge fund manager, businessman with famous, powerful friends, and also convicted sex offender. Just weeks ago, court documents pertaining to his sex trafficking case were unsealed by a New York court.
Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire socialite who had the world eating out of the palm of his hand. People envied him. People worshipped him. He was everywhere, with everyone, living a life dripping in luxury. But behind the gold, behind the mansions, behind the private jets, there was rot, a dark, sickening secret that a handful of insiders knew, but the world never imagined in its full horror. The glamorous lifestyle people envied? It was nothing but a beautifully decorated cover-up for one of the most disturbing sex trafficking scandals of our time.
An island over a mile away from St. Thomas, the main island. And it's out there and it's isolated. He purchases that, right? Then he owns the jet.
On a private island, which many infamous whispers now call Pedophile Island, Jeffrey Epstein and his right-hand woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, ran an illegal trafficking ring where they lured vulnerable underage girls and preyed on them. Imagine the shock when the world learned that the man who presented himself as this sophisticated financial genius, the man managing money for billionaires, the man who shook hands with presidents and royals, was actually hiding a nightmare. The perfect mask shattered.
How do you get off? It's not like a person who's on the island can just say, okay, I'm gonna swim to St. Thomas.
And then the truth started to avalanche. For years, whispers swirled. People talked, people hinted, but no one could touch him. Until finally, the devil's mask ripped off. Epstein was arrested in 2008 after years of dodging consequences. And even then, he practically walked out with a slap on the wrist. A 13-month sentence for charges that barely scratched the surface of what he'd done. He didn't hide after that. Oh no. He stepped right back into his world of power because his connections were ironclad, including, yes, Prince Andrew.
You ever solicited a minor for prostitution?
I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment right.
Somehow, his lawyers had worked out a deal with the U.S. Attorney's Office.
There was more evidence of the fact he was powerful and he could fix what everything came up.
This case was one of the worst failures of the criminal justice.
Prince Andrew and Epstein spotted together countless times at glittering parties, exclusive events, and private gatherings. Their friendship raised eyebrows everywhere, and it only got worse when cameras caught them strolling casually through Central Park in December 2010, years after Epstein had been exposed as a sex offender.
And convicted child sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. We know Prince Andrew got to know Jeffrey Epstein in 1999. We know that he saw him fairly regularly.
And then it happened. The bombshell. The photo that shattered Buckingham Palace like an earthquake. The image seen round the world. The Queen's favorite son with his arm wrapped around a young girl, Virginia Giuffre, who was 17 at the time. She claimed things that made the world stop breathing.
Prince Andrew had a relationship of some sort with Virginia Roberts. She is the woman that Prince Andrew's got his arm around in this photo.
Prince Andrew denied it all with probably the most bizarre excuse in royal history. He claimed he couldn't sweat, yes. That was his defense. He said her description of him sweating during the night they allegedly met couldn't be true because he had a medical condition that prevented him from sweating. He insisted he had no memory of ever meeting her. And then 2019 hit. Epstein was arrested again, this time on federal charges. But just a month later, he was mysteriously found dead in his cell, officially labeled suicide. But to many, the story smelled rotten. After Epstein's death, the spotlight laser-focused on Prince Andrew. And in a desperate attempt to save whatever was left of his reputation, he agreed to that infamous BBC interview. A spectacular disaster. Arrogant, dismissive, painfully unaware of reality. The Guardian called it a catastrophic error, and that was putting it nicely. Overnight, his image collapsed. He stepped back from royal duties, insisting he was innocent, yet in 2022 quietly settled Virginia's lawsuit for millions of pounds. No admission of guilt, but the message was loud enough. By 2025, the hammer officially dropped. Andrew was stripped of all royal titles. Prince, Duke of York, Earl, Baron, everything. Even the right to be called His Royal Highness. King Charles made the call. Andrew was even forced to leave his Windsor home. A fall from grace like no other, and that's where the story turns darker and even more twisted because Epstein wasn't alone. Not by a long shot. Enter Ghislaine Maxwell, Britain's high society darling turned notorious felon. A woman once welcomed into elite circles and photographed with presidents. Now serving a 20-year sentence, and even behind bars, she has not stayed quiet. She's talking. A lot. And what she's saying is dragging names, big, royal, powerful names, into the abyss with her, and suddenly, Meghan Markle's name is right in the center of the fire. Maxwell. She wasn't just some random bystander in Epstein's twisted empire. She was his partner, his recruiter, his gatekeeper. She grew up surrounded by wealth, luxury, and influence. The daughter of publishing tycoon Robert Maxwell, a woman who effortlessly mingled with high society in London and New York, rubbing shoulders with Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, royalty, diplomats. Anyone who mattered to some, she was charming, sophisticated, the life of the elite circle. To others, manipulative, terrifying, and untouchable. Her father adored her, spoiled her. Even he paved her path through every glamorous door she walked through. But behind the glamorous exterior, tragedies and secrets lurked. She was born just days before her brother had a catastrophic accident that left him comatose. He died on her 10th birthday. That kind of trauma sticks. It shaped someone. And for Ghislaine, it created a complicated shell, one that would later twist into something darker. And when her father died mysteriously on his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine, everything in her world collapsed. Soon after, she clung to Epstein, and the nightmare began. She didn't just look away from what Epstein was doing. According to testimonies, she participated. She allegedly groomed teenagers, some as young as 14, coaching them, recruiting them, encouraging them. She was accused of befriending these vulnerable girls, getting close to them, then leading them straight into Epstein's grasp. When the verdict finally came, guilty on nearly all charges, the world watched as one of the most powerful women in high society transformed into one of the most hated women alive. After being sentenced to 20 years, she was shipped off to prison. But you'd think a jail cell would silence her, right? Especially someone tied to secrets that could topple the elite? Oh no, not Ghislaine. If anything, prison made her louder. She appealed her sentence. She gave cryptic interviews. She hinted at secrets. And in 2025, when she was transferred from a federal women's prison in Florida to a lower security camp in Texas, she started talking even more. And this is where the tea turned scalding, because Ghislaine Maxwell started dropping names, heavy names, royal names, and one of the names she began weaving into her narrative was Meghan Markle. Yes, that Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, the humanitarian, the feminist, the podcast queen, the jam maker, the woman who built her image on empowerment, compassion, and independence. Ghislaine claimed she had knowledge about Meghan's pre-royal life, details the public never knew, stories Meghan allegedly hid long before stepping into the royal spotlight. And suddenly, Meghan's picture-perfect image, crafted so carefully and controlled so fiercely, looked like it might not just crack, it might shatter, because Maxwell wasn't just vaguely hinting. She referenced a document, a CV, something that allegedly linked Meghan to people in circles the Duchess has never acknowledged publicly, something that Maxwell insinuated could ruin the persona Meghan spent years polishing. And that's not all. Maxwell implied that Meghan wasn't just floating around Hollywood and cable TV sets during those years before Harry. She was supposedly in circles that overlapped with Prince Andrew and even people connected to Epstein. Maxwell even hinted Meghan knew who Virginia Giuffre was. That accusation alone sent shockwaves everywhere because Meghan built her entire brand, her entire story, on the idea that she was an outsider, a struggling biracial actress fighting against hardship, discrimination, and the coldness of the royal institution. But Maxwell's claims twist that narrative completely, and her timing, suspicious, calculated, explosive, and Meghan's reaction, silence. Complete, suffocating silence. This is the same Meghan who never stays silent, The Meghan who releases documentaries, books, podcasts, interviews, all to set the record straight. The Meghan who claps back, clarifies, and counters every narrative she doesn't like, yet now, nothing. No publicist statement, no carefully worded rebuttal, no emotional interview, no cryptic post, not even a pap walk message. Just silence, and people noticed. People started asking, why isn't she denying it? Is she scared? Is this the one rumor she can't control? And the most dangerous question of all, what if Maxwell isn't lying? Because rumors fade, but silence? Silence from someone who never stays silent? That speaks louder than anything. And Meghan's supporters, of course, rushed in defending her, calling it another coordinated smear campaign, another desperate attempt to pull her down. And maybe some of that is true. But her critics? Oh, they're eating this up like a royal feast. They've always believed Meghan had secrets, that her past had chapters she didn't want the world to see. Maxwell's claims added gasoline to that fire. And here's where everything gets even messier. Some people believe Maxwell is doing this because she wants revenge on the elite circles that abandoned her. Calling out Meghan, one of the world's most famous modern royals, is a direct hit at the monarchy without naming the monarchy. It drags the institution back into the Epstein mess without touching senior royals again. But others believe Maxwell is telling the truth, because at this point, what does she have to lose? She's already condemned, exposed, imprisoned. Maybe speaking out is her last weapon. And meanwhile, Meghan is carrying this ticking bomb quietly, pretending nothing's happening. But everyone sees it. Everyone hears the whispers. Everyone knows the pressure behind the scenes must be suffocating. This is the woman who once stood on global stages urging people to speak their truth. Yet, in the moment her past is questioned by someone with first-hand access to some of the world's darkest secrets, she's suddenly silent, almost as if she's afraid of what speaking might reveal. The world is watching, waiting, wondering. Because one thing is clear, Meghan believes she can control her story, but Maxwell is trying to rip that control out of her hands, and the Duchess's silence? It might be the biggest sign that Maxwell's words aren't just delusions from a prison cell, but something far more dangerous, something real.